Welcome to your best bets. The Mexico Open is upon us, one of the most anticipated events of the season. We can talk about coming this week. No, not really at all. In fact, we were just talking before we went live, this is one of the worst four-event stretches of the PGA Tour season. But we will preview the Mexico Open. We'll do like a 1-minute review on the Zurich Classic as well. I can't say I really saw much of that event, as we kind of alluded to last week. Joining me tonight, of course, Zach Fitzgerald is here. Zach, how are we?
We're doing well today. Looking forward to this show and celebrating Johnny.
Yes, Johnny Strauzer's here. Yeah, you did something, I guess, pretty impressive Saturday, right?
Yeah, I would say so. We had that the Three Rivers Tour event that we had talked about on the last show, and it was at my home golf course, Autumn Ridge, where I've been a member there for quite a few years, and was able to win that one. My first of this year, first event of the year that I've played in, and it's my third career Three Rivers Tour win. So that was pretty exciting. Had some pretty nice weather, but some tough conditions on top of it. So it was a good day all around.
You win the Skyline Chili Classics. Did you bathe in Skyline Chili afterwards?
I wanted to, but I'm more of a Coney guy than a chili dog guy. So had it been Coney sauce, definitely, but I didn't. Although, you know, who's to say if I don't win again, you know, if I come back to defend that maybe we'll do something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's always that opportunity down the road to bathe in chili. Let's talk about your round a little bit. I mean, you win going away. You shoot 71, win by 6. I mean, this is a Tiger in his prime sort of margin of victory, Scotty Scheffler at the Masters type of victory. So you played, from what I understand, pretty decent on the front, but the back nine, you really kind of took control of this thing. What tell us about your round?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so most people probably remember it was about 85 degrees out that day, not that humid. Really nice day. The wind was a little bit different than what it normally is in the summertime. Usually the wind comes out of the west, and that's kind of when the golf course plays generally, I would say, the easiest. But it was basically due south coming, or I should say due north coming straight from the south, which if anybody's played Autumn Ridge, it makes hole 1 play downwind, 9 would play into the wind, 10 would play into the wind. So it just makes it a little bit more interesting because a lot of the holes on the front 9, which normally play downwind because or into the wind because they go east-west, just made it a little bit tougher because those were crosswind. And it was kind of consistent at 5 to 10 miles an hour, and it would gust up to 15 plus miles an hour sometimes. So it made it challenging there. And in the number of years that I've been in Fort Wayne, I've been in Fort Wayne since 2006, I believe. I've kind of learned that Autumn Ridge is one of the more difficult golf courses, public courses in the county and in Northeast Indiana. Just generally people struggle with it. We don't have a whole lot of tournaments there, but you know, usually they end up just not playing as well as you would generally expect with the talent that we've got in the county here. But I hit the ball really well considering I really hadn't played much all year. I played the Wednesday, and I played a few holes Thursday, took Friday off, and only played a few weeks before that, just one round. So I felt I was pretty rusty, and a lot of it was just hitting off the mats at an indoor driving range at the Sport One Fieldhouse. And so I was kind of worried at how I'd be able to work the ball around with that wind, and hit it pretty consistent. Hit a lot of greens at start, which was real nice because, you know, when you play tournament golf, you want to have easy pars, and you want to have looks at birdie. Nothing worse than starting out like the first like 3, 4, 5, 6 holes of your round, and you're just fighting for pars, or you're making easy bogeys or easy double bogeys. I'm sure you guys have had that before, you know, where it starts the round out bad. I had a lot of really good birdie looks. Didn't make any of them, but I had some close ones. Finally ended up making a birdie on the par 5 fourth hole. Hit a wedge shot in there. Actually got wayward with my tee shot and worked back towards the hole. It was in that crosswind and made birdie. And then as we turned into the wind, 8 or 7 and 8 made bogeys on there and had to make actually a pretty good par on 9. So I turned in one over, and then I usually play a little bit better on the back 9. I don't know if it's just out of desperation that I just hadn't played as well as I wanted on the front, but it was just kind of one of those things where I hit a lot of good shots. I stayed patient because I knew the scores were going to be higher. And when you play in these tournaments like this, you can kind of gauge how well the scores are going to be. And I don't know if that's how you guys do it when you play in the Three Rivers or FWGA events. You just you get out there, you play the first few holes, and you're like, you know what? If I shoot, 79, if I shoot 75 or 70 or something like that, that's kind of a target. I knew if I shot something around par, I'd have a really, really good chance at winning. So I just was real patient, making pars, and then finally made a good scrambling par actually on the par 5 15th hole. Knocked a wedge in there to about 6-7 feet and curled in the putt for birdie. That got me to even for the round. I'd made pars up until that point. And then 7 or 16, the par 3 was a real tough wind. I was short, but the pin was front left, and I had about 20 feet with about, 6-8 feet of break. It was just this hooking putt, and I was just on the fringe there, left the pin in, and dead perfect putt, hit right in the center of the flagstick, dropped in, and then made 2 scrambling pars at the end. Because at that point, I was kind of worried if there was a couple good players that were ahead of us, and I was worried that one of them was going to sneak in there and shoot like a 1-2 over par, something like that. So I was like, okay, just make some pars coming in. Made a couple scrambling pars, finished out 71, came in and found out that I ended up winning by 6, which was a little bit of a surprise, but I was happy with how I stayed in the round and grinded it out. And it felt like I was, Tiger back in the day. It was, being patient, taking opportunities when I could.
Zach?
My knowledge from Autumn is that, and I think you had said that in the text message on Saturday, that you had just stayed patient. And I was a member at Autumn for 5 years, and I kind of think of that golf course as a driver's golf course. If you can drive the ball well there, especially on the back, you tend to gain strokes on people. Holes like 13, being downwind is totally different. So maybe not as treacherous, but if the ball gets wayward either way on that hole with it being downwind, it's just going to carry it farther. I'm not sure if you have the distance. I haven't played with you in a while to get to the water with it downwind, but I certainly don't. So that's not a concern. It would be more right. But then, holes like 15, I think, present an extremely, maybe potentially the hardest driving hole in the city, honestly. If you hit any type of a draw there and you hit it long and there's any wind going, I guess, behind you, it's going to be almost impossible to stop the ball from going through the fairway into that little gully area down there. I'm excited that City is there this year. I think that it's a great golf course that tends to bring, people that strike the ball well, drive the ball well. It's not necessarily the hardest putting golf course, but if you don't know it well, it has some pretty subtle breaks. To win by 6, that's excellent with the level of golfers that were there. Chris Schweitzer had already won a tournament this year. Jason Herberger was there playing well. Ryan Marquardt was there, had won a tournament already this year. Jason Smith was there. There were a bunch of people there that had previously won tournaments or competed in both Fort Wayne Golf Association and the Three Rivers Tour for a long time. So really impressive win. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I did play with Chris, Jason, and Ryan, as you had mentioned there, in that final gross division pairing, and they started out. They were hitting a lot of good shots. They were, I don't know if it was the adrenaline, hitting just a lot of really good iron shots, having a lot of good looks, and by the sixth hole, I think at least a couple of them were beating me. I'm like, you know what? I said, these guys are going to shoot like 68 today. I just don't have it in me to shoot 68 this early in the season here. Now, we had the tees that we played were basically the blues and slightly forward. I play the gold tees all the time there, which is all the way back. And that golf course is completely different with all the angles if you play the gold tees versus the blues. So I almost have to, it almost feels like I'm playing a different golf course, because like hole 3, the sharp dog leg, they had them at like the whites and it was playing downwind. I had the tee and I didn't know that I could carry it. I could have driven the green because I hit my tee shot out, just in a safe area in the fairway there, hit driver. And then Chris goes in and knocks it on the back corner of the green. Jason Smith goes in and knocks it on the back corner of the green. I'm like, okay. But funny, you mentioned the driving and everything. That was just, I don't know. It's just maybe my muscles aren't fully, from the atrophy from, this winter. I didn't feel like I was hitting the ball well at all. I wasn't swinging hard because when it's windy, I usually try to swing a little bit easier, because the harder you swing in the wind, the more backspin you put on the ball, the higher you hit the ball, and the more the ball can just go places that you just don't want it to go. So Jason Smith was regularly out driving me by 20, 30 yards. I think I got him one time on 17. But these guys were hitting it by me. But I was just like, you know what? That's fine. I feel comfortable with how my irons are. I feel comfortable. I can hit most of these greens. I've played the golf course 500 times in my life. I know all about it and everything. And that's why I was just like, just be patient, let them come back to you. And once we kind of hit the turn there, that's when it happened. But like you said, that's what I really wanted to bring up as well. I'm excited, yes, that Autumn Ridge is hosting the Fort Wayne Golf Association City Championship. Personally, because I feel I've got a home course advantage there, but more importantly, I think this is such a great test for a lot of golfers in the area. I know we've got a lot of good courses, and we tend to try to play the private ones for the championship there. But the way they had the golf course going last year, and they are legitimately excited on how the golf course is going to be this year. They're looking to get the greens faster, the fairways firm. They redid a lot of the bunkers to make them actually playable, because they lost a lot of the sand due to just drying out and erosion and everything. So they're making it a fun, challenging golf course. And I think it's going to really test, it's going to test these guys. And I think the year was like 2011 or 12 or whatever it was here last.
12, yeah.
Joe Hayden and Pat Kelly got in a playoff. I think they were like 1 over or something like that.
Yep.
They weren't able to break par for 3 rounds. So, I mean, I think that's a tell of how this golf course is. And it's just not an easy one. It just doesn't set up easy for the eye there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it tests everybody. And I'm looking forward to how excited they are, Autumn Ridge is, about the greenskeeper and the pro and all that, how they're happy about and excited to bring a challenging golf course for us.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and to sort of piggyback on some of that and your home course advantage. I mean, I've played a number of rounds with you there, and it really is a golf course that fits your game so well, because you're so good at just managing your game, keeping the ball in play, not hitting a lot of foul balls. And you hit a couple foul balls in Autumn, your score can really get up there quickly. You make a couple doubles pretty easily, but you're so good at managing your game, knowing what clubs to hit off the tee, say on 13 when the wind's this way and the tees are back, exactly what to hit. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that sort of all fits with the city championship when we get there in August. And we kind of jokingly always talk about peaking, and we have a podcast talking about these PGA Tour players peaking at the right time. So essentially, we're all trying to do that the last couple of weeks of July going to the city. So I'm sure you're kind of, your whole season's geared toward that week and getting toward that week. But obviously, nice to start off in April with a win here.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, this is something that, I've had a lot of success in the city, but never won it. I mean, I finished second, I finished third, I finished fourth, I finished sixth. I probably finished fifth somewhere as well. So it's just always been, close there. And it seems like you get this new crop of good young players that kind of come through, just out of high school as they're living their college years, and having a lot of success here. So I'm looking forward to knowing the golf course. And I really feel that as long as I could get my game peaking, which I have before in the past, that having that course advantage plus playing better golf at that time in early August, can give me a chance to contend at the event. And I've always talked about it. I know I mention it all the time about these players. I say, I like to bet this guy because maybe he can make the cut and then have a chance come Sunday. That's certainly what I'm looking for, is to be in the hunt within striking distance on that Sunday. And I think I have as good a chance as anybody that's going to be in that field.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a well-founded point, and I think your name's definitely going to be in the mix when we get there. So congrats again. Happy that the podcast gets a win here. Belleville won the Senior City last fall, so cool to see another one of our guys win. So happy to see you get one here, and then turn around and we got the 5-man scramble this week. I know Johnny and I are teaming up. Zach, you're going to be in the field. You guys looking forward to this one, Zach?
Absolutely. I play Riverbend on Thursdays in a golf league, and the course is in amazing shape. Greens are already lightning and firm. And it's always one of my favorite events of the year. I mean, the course gets set up pretty difficultly, which, I mean, it's hard to set that course up easy. So saying that is pretty relative, if I'm being honest. The greens are faster than normal, but it's not set up overly difficult. It can be set up significantly more difficult if they wanted to. But scores normally wins around 14 under. So for a 5-man scramble, I mean, that is a low score for an 18-hole golf course. I mean, you see some 4-man scrambles with scores of 20, 21. So that kind of shows you how the course is set up. But I think that this is a tournament that, as a member of Riverbend, I take pride in this event. I hope that it shows well and everybody enjoys it. I think those of us that are members at Riverbend do have an advantage. It is a golf course that, has to be played multiple times in order to feel comfortable, especially on the greens. And Tom does an amazing job getting it set up. He's an excellent host. And as a golf course owner and as well as a player in both the Three Rivers and the Fort Wayne Golf Association, he understands, how important golf is to the community. So I think that he does a good job, and I think it's one of my favorite events of the year.
Johnny?
It certainly is, and I hope we get good weather for it. But I'm always excited now when I get the chance to play Riverbend. I mean, even if it was on a Tuesday morning last year, you always got a quality place to play. The layout is good. I think it's a far underrated layout. It just got an unfortunate name years and years and years and years ago before Tom took over. And I think if you really just think about the holes and the mapping of the golf course and the shots you got to hit, it's fantastic. It really is a good layout. And then to add the green speed, which, I mean, they're every bit as any PGA Tour golf course that we talk about on a week-to-week basis, is that, and it helps having a golf nut, good golfer in Tom in running the place. So I mean, he's not there just to make it in a certain condition. He understands golfers because he is one, and he's just one of us. He's just a dude like one of us, and I really respect that on how he ends up setting up the course. But I always like it because it's always like the real true kickoff of the local golf scene. A lot of people end up playing it. A lot of guys you haven't seen since City play it. So it's a lot of guys I haven't seen over the winter or haven't talked to. And it's a 5-man team, and you're always playing with guys you like. You have a good time, and you just hope the weather is just good enough that none of them kind of tune out halfway through the round, because it's too cold or something like that. But this is a good one. It's amazing to me that a 5-man scramble could shoot 14 under to win. But then you play the golf course. Phil, I think you'd agree. Like, you look at it, 5 guys can only shoot 14 under par, but then you play the golf course and you're like, holy shit, how'd these guys shoot 14 under par in this weather with these pins at this speed of the green?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to Johnny and I were texting about this event and just the course in general. I was mentioning to Johnny years ago, I hated playing Riverbend, even not that long ago, but I've played Riverbend probably more than any other course the last 2 years, and I've really come to respect it and actually enjoy the challenge. Really trying to appreciate taking advantage of the holes where you can make birdie, and then just playing for par on maybe half the holes, and because they're that challenging. And for me, it was always like, man, I'm sitting over a tee shot, just doesn't make me feel comfortable. Of course, then you get on the green, I don't feel comfortable. You can mention that in a lot of different shots at Riverbend, whether it's the tee shot on, I don't know, say 15 with that wind is always coming in your face, it feels like, and then you got to deal with that approach shot to one of the most diabolical greens in the city. I think that hole is a good demonstration of what Riverbend can offer, especially when the wind's blowing. It is extremely difficult, but it's a really fair test of golf. And sometimes it's some of these holes, Zach, I'm interested in your take. It's all about just leaving it and maybe missing it in the right spot. Hole like number 4, you get above the pin, you're just happy to get down in 2. So hole like that where you can miss it short, even if you're pitching the ball, things of that nature. I've tended to come to appreciate about the golf course and just the challenge it offers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just like you said, that golf course is all about where you miss it. We talk about the putting, we talk about how difficult some of the driving holes are, but I think it's the hardest second shot golf course in the city. If you don't put the ball in the right position on literally every single hole, you are struggling to 2-putt, struggling. And what I think, and a lot of the members will tell you this out there, is the most diabolical green out there that always gets everybody's number 12, and it looks the flattest, but it's just these weird little slight breaks that hit everybody. And then if you get behind that green and you try to chip to the front, it will not stop. Holes like 4, where knowing where to hit the ball on 4 off the tee is vital. And if you haven't played there, it's probably going to bite you the first few times. Trying to get comfortable over that tee shot on 3, which I think is one of the most difficult tee shots. I personally tend to just hit iron and then try to hit like an 8-iron in. You can try to hit driver and hit it right down that chute and maybe hit a sandwich in, but man, you can also just hit it into the water. So for me, that was always kind of a bugaboo. And then really, I mean, I haven't even mentioned the backside yet, which is just, there's no letdown at any point. You can say 10, but during the summertime, when it gets hard, if you hit driver on 10 and you don't hit it straight, it's going into the shit to the right, or it's going into that goalie left. And then you're probably looking at bogey because you can't get up and down. And from that point forward, 11 is obviously brutal, 12 is brutal, 13 is, in my opinion, harder than 11. I don't think it gets the credit that it deserves. 14 is a brutal part. Every hole on that side is difficult. And, Tom asked us the question, I think, a couple years ago, what would our guess be? And I actually want you guys to answer this before I tell you, but what do you guys think per scores that are put in above par, what is the hardest hole on that golf course?
I would guess, I'd probably, and this is probably the wrong answer, but it's probably 15.
Okay. Phil?
I would say 15 or 16.
It is actually 18. I would not think
18.
that
Yeah, I
either,
agree.
but it's, you got all the trouble left. And then the way that the green is so severely sloped from right to left, if you miss it right where the bailout is, you can't hold the green. You got that bunker right there. And if you miss it in that bunker, you can't hold the green. So I get it. It's just an overly difficult course. Obviously, I have extreme love for it. I've been a member there for 6 years now. The guys there are like family to me. But from an outsider's perspective, prior to being there, every time I played it, I saw the potential in the layout. So yeah, I agree. It's my favorite course to play in the city. My favorite place to play golf, I would say. So yeah, it's a special place to be.
Definitely looking forward to Saturday, getting out there and competing and just having a good time. It should be hopefully the weather's decent, like you guys mentioned, and we'll see how much Johnny and I's team can beat Zach's team by, and we'll definitely report back next week. No, probably not. But yeah, it should be a fun one. Guys, I didn't have anything on the Zurich. I don't know if Zach did. I mean, congrats to Xander and Cantley. I don't really have any stronger feeling towards Xander now that he's won another weird event that will go on his resume. Sorry, Zach. But Johnny, I think you had maybe a take or two.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing, and you kind of alluded to it there. This is the most likely event that Xander Schauffele will win. I mean, just the most on-brand win that you could imagine here is he played in a team event where he doesn't have to count all of his strokes. He's playing with one of the best players in the world who is generally unflappable and he's very comfortable with playing with, but he's going to get credited for a PGA Tour win. Now, he's only going to get half the FedEx Cup points, and he splits part of the purse and everything like that, but he's going to get invited back to Kapalua. His 6th year in a row, and he's only won 3 times. It's a tournament of champions, tournament winner only field, and he's won I think 3 times in those 6 years, and this is his 6th consecutive one here. So I just was like, I should have just thought of it earlier when I bet the damn event that this was going to be probably a Xander Schauffele win. If he's going to win an event, this is what he's going to win.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to go down this path, but now looking at his resume, I mean, we're talking about his first one being at the Greenbrier, which is a regular tour event, but it's a solid event. No qualms there. But the Tour Championship was the second win, no cut event. WGC, no cut event. Century Tournament of Champions, no cut event. Then we throw in the Olympics, and now we throw in the team events with Cantley. It is a really weird resume of wins where it's either no cut or something funky with the format. I don't know. Zach, he's your boy, so you can defend him here.
He's got a gold medal.
The Xander backers always go with that gold medal thing. Always. No.
Well, if I'm being honest with you, it's the only thing I have. So it's what I have to go with.
Full respect. But no, the event, and we talked about it last week, I tried to defend it, but it just has no juice. I think that's the best way to describe it. There's just no juice to it. And this is my last point. I think they need to eliminate the best ball. It is a total slog on television to watch. Alternate shot, the pace is great. It zooms through, but I just think the best ball format is it just doesn't do any favors for the entertainment portion of it.
Yeah. Change it to worst ball. I like your guys' idea. Then I'll actually play.
So this week, guys, I mean, this is the argument for the PGA Tour needs a bye week, right? I mean, you come off of the Masters, you have a really great event at Harbor Town, then you followed up with the Zurich, and now it's just this. I mean, we've talked about bad fields here. We've seen it. We kind of joke about it, but this one is it's really as bad as I've seen, and we'll talk about it when we get to the odds. But I mean, shouldn't maybe and I know this is all driven by TV and sponsorship, but would it be a bad idea for the tour to take an off week here and there?
No, absolutely. And I know they want to grow the game by having the event in Mexico. And I think actually having a WGC there and bringing the good players into Mexico was a great idea. And if they're going to go back there now, then do that. But having this this is like the Corrales Punta Cana, and it might not even be that. Yeah, have a week off here and there, highlight the Corn Ferry Tour. You've got some skin in the game in the DP World Tour. You've named the Scottish Open, which is actually now a co-sanctioned PGA Tour and DP World Tour event. Do something like that. Promote the other tours. Do something, because I mean, I know people are going to bet on it, and I'm probably going to bet on it too. But just looking at this field, just take. It's okay. You don't have to play a certain week here. This is kind of the springtime in the north here. Weather's getting better. Baseball season started. People want to take their families out to play golf, or they want to enjoy the outside. They're not really going to watch as much, golf as they would. Get them kind of hyped up for the PGA Championship, and it's okay. It's okay to do that. You don't have to play, 50 weeks out of the year.
I can't really see myself watching a lot of this tournament. The bye week wise, I mean, I'm going to make it a bye week for me probably, but I see the point for not having a bye week at the same time for all the guys that get an opportunity to necessarily compete against the best fields. It would be nice if the event in Mexico was always a WGC event that drew the biggest names. I mean, if they're trying to grow the game in Mexico, then you're going to need a better field than this. It has to be the case. So nice that, they're having a tournament in Mexico. They're trying to continue it on, but this is not, I don't think, the proper trajectory in my mind. I would think that you would want to try to keep it as a WGC. Obviously, I'm not privy to why that didn't happen, but this is not a tournament that necessarily excites me. But they did draw Rahm. I mean, there are some names here. It's just that it's on the weaker side of the field.
Yeah, the WGC in Mexico, it was eliminated at the Club de Golf Chapultepec. I actually really enjoyed that golf course. I thought it was really kind of short and wonky and kind of fun. This one's played in Puerto Vallarta at the Vidanta, the Vidanta Vallarta Norman Signature. God, I was waiting.
Okay.
I was waiting to say that. I mean, we can't get away from Greg Norman, guys.
I was just going to say we somehow found a way to bring him into this.
It circles back to every Your Best Bet episode. I love it. Long golf course, though, over 7,500 yards. It basically is going to play the opposite of what Chapultepec would play, which was drivable par fours and things of that nature. Past Palom greens, we'll see. From everything I've read about this golf course, it's really wide as far as driving the golf ball. I think it seems like it's going to favor the longer hitters to me. It's going to kind of negate the accurate drivers, and you're going to want guys that are 30, 40 yards ahead of the Kevin Nas and Patrick Reeds of the world that are going to be just that much closer on their approach shot. As we've talked about in the past, this past Palom green type seems to kind of negate some of the stronger putters and kind of level the playing field. Johnny, have you looked at the course?
Very little of it. Yeah, it is a very long course. I don't know if it's at elevation like Chapultepec was. Chapultepec was a long golf course, but it was playing at like 7,000 feet. So these dudes were hitting it, crazy distances here. But this is going to be a lot like I mentioned, the Punta Cana. It's just it's a resort type golf course. You can kind of blast it anywhere. It's got kind of weird greens that are hard to make putts on. So not knowing too much about the golf course, I think you're going to want good iron players. You want guys who can hit it long because they can get away with wayward tee shots. But as these players kind of work their way around and learn the golf course, they played in practice rounds, but actually playing it in tournament golf with different pins, you get guys who can just get their yardage, know the wind, and hit an iron shot close. And that's kind of what I'm going to look at. And that's what I focused on is guys who I like as good iron players.
All right, guys. Let's get
For me, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, for this one, I'm basically just looking at guys that are pretty hot coming in and that have been playing well over the last month or two. Not really looking at potential on this one, more just form. So,
okay. Guys, the odds board is unlike anything that you've seen. I think it was out at Palm Springs when Rahm was playing out there, where he was a significant favorite. I think it was around plus 600. You know which one I'm talking about. You know, the
fucking putting contest.
Fucking putting contest week. But this is even more of he's even more of a dramatic favorite this week at plus 350. He's the only guy that sits under plus 2,000 because of Daniel Berger's withdrawal. So I think if you're betting this, you kind of need to pick a path. Are you picking the path where you think Rahm's going to win this tournament? And I don't even know if it's because you want to bet it or if you want to bet guys in the top 5, top 10, top 20 markets and just say, I think Gary Woodland's going to have a great week, but I don't think he's going to beat Rahm, so I'll bet him top 5. I mean, I feel like you got to pick a path, and I don't even know if it's because you think you want to bet Rahm to win. It's just because you don't want to, you don't want to bet any other guy to win and have Rahm beat him. That's my thought.
I've wrestled with this. Once I saw the odds yesterday, I couldn't believe how much of a favorite he was. I mean, he's 7-2 on DraftKings. I mean, plus 350 is almost unheard of. How I'm going to do it is I normally would never support somebody betting that, but you look at the guys at like 20-1. You look at, some of these guys are just, not going to win even at that high number there. So I think he's going to be one of my win bets. And I just going to have to live with not getting a big return in that. And I'm going to have other win bets as well, but I'm going to, like I always do, I'm going to really focus on the top 20s and top 10s. Because like you said, Gary Woodland's typically not going to beat him, but Gary Woodland's one of the better players in the field. So you can still get plus 450 odds at as a top 5. So I'm going to personally bet Rahm just because I know I'm not going to win much from him, but I'm going to try to make my money in the top finishes bet and the matchups. And I have a couple long shots in there as well that they happen to win. That'll be just a bonus.
Zach, what about you? You Rahm, or are you staying away there?
I'm staying as far away from Rahm as possible for me. I mean, he hasn't shown me that he has the form to justify plus 350. I mean, that's the number of a guy that's won 2 or 3 tournaments in a row coming in here. That's Scheffler won 4 of the last 6 and was still like plus 1,200. I don't.
No.
We were just talking about how Rahm hasn't been making any putts. He's not been playing bad, but he hasn't been playing great. I guess it's just the weakness of the field, but I don't see anything that he's done that shows me he is any more likely to win than say Gary Woodland or, somebody that you would get better odds. But I do get the sentiment of, him certainly being one of the favorites and still placing a bet on him. I mean, but for me personally, that's ludicrous odds. That's like Tiger odds when he's winning 7 tournaments in a row.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We know he hasn't won a PGA Tour event since the U.S. Open last summer, so it has been a while. If you're betting him and you support him, it's because of his tee degree game is still the best. He's still first in this field tee degree in the last 50 rounds. Has not been the problem the last couple months. He's been just leaking oil, not just putting, but we mentioned, outside the top 100 around the greens as well. I mean, his game is really fallen off, just getting the ball up and down. However, I don't really see scrambling as a big factor in this tournament. I really think it's going to be a ball striking type of tournament. So I do think Rahm's going to be a factor. I think he's going to be in the top 10. It's just going to be a matter of a couple of these putts finally dropping for him. We live in the world where Cameron Tringali is tied for the second favorite in this event at 20-1 with Abe Ancer, Gary Woodland, and Kevin Na. I just think that's hilarious. Tony Finau at 22, Sebastian Munoz at 25-1. I mean, there was an event where we just talked about him being 125-1, I think. So Aaron Wise at 30-1. We talked about Woodland. I think right now he's maybe the second best player in this field behind Rahm. I think he's got really good value, even if you don't like him to win for top 10. Seems like the golf course would fit him well. He's really been playing well this spring. Zach, do you like Woodland this week?
I do. Or two T5s, a T8 and a T21 in the last 2 months. So coming in on good form. Like you said, probably right now the second best player in the event, and hits the ball plenty far for this golf course. Of all those numbers that you said, I would take him. I had kind of bookmarked Finau in to maybe talk about him, and then I saw this little stat that it's been 8 months since his last top 25 in a full field event, and that was kind of eye-opening to me. I didn't think it was that bad, but yeah, that's pretty bad. I have trouble having confidence in him after reading that. So of all the people you said, I guess I would probably take Woodland in that range.
Johnny, what about you? You on the Woodland train as well?
I don't mind him in a top 10. I'm not going to bet him to win. I think that's a fair number, but I just don't know. I don't know. He doesn't have that win equity or that frequency that I really love, and I can trust him coming down the stretch. But he has played good golf, and I know he missed the cut at the Players and he missed it at the Masters, but he's had those really good finishes otherwise. And this is, as much as you may want to believe it, this is not the Players or the Masters. So how he's played otherwise there. So I can't believe Tringali. He's like a 70-1 on the win, but I mean, plus 210 is not a bad for a top 10. I mean, it's just, there's like three things in life: that death, taxes, and Cameron Tringali not winning an event. But he'll top 10, top 20 most likely. He's just that type of player there. So the only guy I could maybe consider, and I'm not going to bet him to win, but as a high finish is Munoz, Sebastian Munoz. I saw that he's a Vidante ambassador. So he has something to do with the golf course. So, I'm trying to figure out some sort of storyline for this event, and he's about the only one. No win bets on any of these guys for me, but those are the two that, I might kind of look at.
Is that like the Lucas Glover ambassadorship that he had last year?
Congaree.
Yeah, Congaree. Yes.
Yeah, very similar, I think.
He probably picked that up post his wife verbally abusing him. I would think. Yeah.
Yes.
Tony Finau. Zach, you mentioned the stat that I was going to rattle off. It's really pretty alarming. And I don't know if that goes back to when he won in the FedEx Cup playoffs last year. But yeah, however, Stephen A. Smith, however, the last two events he's played okay. He did play okay at the Masters. Finau, he finished 35th. I mean, that's not remarkable, but that there was some signs there. He's 10th in this field, tee to green. He's really, I think, in the top 5 in strokes gained approach. So I think there's some signs there. He's just been really awful on the greens, and I don't know if that's. It's funny, when we talk about these guys, like, yeah, that's always a thing that can flip. But when you're out there and you're not making a putt, the three of us have been through it at some point. You don't ever feel like it's going to flip. But when we look at these metrics, like, oh, the putting's so fickle and volatile. those things can flip, tournament to tournament, and they can, but it might. And we know Finau is just not a great putter. That would be the one thing that would hold him back, obviously. 30-1 to 50-1. We got Aaron Wise at 30-1. Chris Kirk, Zach's guy at 35, Patrick Reed at 35, Brendan Todd, not I was going to make some Zalatoris joke there with Brendan Todd, but I couldn't think of one. He's at 45 and Cam Champ at 45. I do want to talk about Chris Kirk. I kind of joke about him because Zach was betting him every week, but he is tied with Rahm in this field in strokes gained tee to green, tops in the field. This feels like a really good setup for Kirk. Zach, are you back on that this week?
I am on the Kirk wagon this week for sure. Like Johnny said, though, I don't know how strong I am on any of these being win bets. I think this is a tournament where, you can get some good value in the top 10, top 20s, even top 5s for certain guys. So, getting Kirk at plus 350 for a top 10 isn't bad. Plus 650 for a top 5. So yeah, I do like Kirk. He's a guy that I have written down here. I do not like Patrick Reed this week. He just has not shown anything. I tried to defend him for a while, but I'm starting to lose faith, which will probably be about the time that he wins the tournament this week. So I do like Cam Champ. Hits the ball a long way. Top 10 at the Masters, which I believe he was second or third tee to green at the Masters. So that's a good sign. And, he's a guy that could come out here and win this tournament. So he's actually a guy that I could see winning the tournament over Kirk, honestly. I'll probably eat my words, but I would probably put a win bet on Champ for this tournament. But yeah, I do like Chris Kirk.
Yeah, Cam Champ. His career is so strange to this point, right? I think 3 tour wins at 25. I mean, carries significant win equity, but he's a true feast or famine type of player. It seems like where if he's not, he wins and then he'll miss 5 cuts in a row and show up and finish top 10 of the Masters, and super volatile, but really has high upside, low floor, high upside. It seems like. Johnny, what about that group? Pat Reed?
I'm gonna pass on Pat Reed, just like what Zach was saying there. There's no form, and there's no reason to trust him at this point here. One guy I don't mind here is Aaron Wise. Good iron player. I think that he's a bad putter, but maybe the Paspalum will kind of negate the bad putter and turn him into an okay one. I mean, he's got to have a good week to obviously win an event, but I'm not saying he's getting close, but there's signs that there is some decent play, and he's fairly consistent at that. So if you don't like him in a win, because that is a really kind of a bad number at 30-1, which again, I said it kind of at the beginning here, don't expect any of these guys to have great value, because there's just not that. Plus, that 18-1, 16-1, 14-1 guys in there to kind of even it out there. So the books are going to have to kind of cook them and be a little bit in their favor there. So don't worry about that, but I like him, and I do like Kirk as well. Good iron player. This could be a good week for him. Cameron Champ, though, was one I didn't think that was going to be mentioned. He does. He's going to either going to have to win bet him or don't bet him at all. I don't think a top 10 bet for him is super wise bet, just because you don't know if you're going to get. He could shoot 72, 74 and go home on Friday. So decent numbers here, or decent players here. Don't love the numbers, but I think you could get away with playing these guys in some capacity.
Yeah, I'll just sort of piggyback on you guys. I like Kirk and Wise in some capacity in this group. It is tough to see Aaron Wise with a 30-1 number next to his name, considering 1 tour win and just a lot of inconsistency. But better recently, He's coming off a 21st at RBC where he was, I think, top 10 going in the final day and kind of faded a little bit, but we're starting to see his name a little bit here and there. 50-1 and above. Let's go up to about 70. Matt Jones. I've been seeing a lot of buzz about Matt Jones this week, actually. A lot of people seem to like him. So he's at 55. The Gim Reaper at 55. Streelman, Howell, CT Pan at 60. Nick Taylor, 65. Adam Wong, 65. Grayson Sig at 65. Pat Perez, Taylor Moore, Davis Riley, Aaron Ride, Russell Knox, Carlos Ortiz, Lanto Griffin, Mark Hubbard, all at 70. Zach, give me a name.
You already said Matt Jones, who has a third tie for 15th and a tie for second in his last two tournaments. So I would say that's a good pick. A guy on the opposite end of that is Mark Hubbard, who I was reading about during the research, has two top 15s, one on the PGA Tour, one on the Korn Ferry Tour. So in good form. He's a guy that, you can get at plus 600 for a top 10, plus 275 for a top 20. So reasonable value there. But at those numbers, probably I had Matt Jones and Mark Hubbard written down. So those are the two that I have in this range.
Johnny?
Yeah. I when I first looked at the field, I was like, well, Matt Jones, this feels like it could be like a Matt Jones week. And I didn't know that a Matt Jones week even existed. Then seeing kind of I think a lot of the public's on him, at least more than what you would kind of expect there. So it does scare me a little bit there. So if you're a fade the public kind of a better, you may want to stay away. But I think there is something to that, though, that it just feels like this could be one of the things. Again, he's like Cameron Champ, though. He might either win it, top five it, or he's going to miss the cut and be just awful. I did like Mark Hubbard as well. I did see his name. He's getting into that conditional PGA Tour status, so there's some desperation there. And these are the type of events that these fringe players, they kind of feast on. I don't know if I even love that number at 70-1, but I think he's kind of playing for his job at this point. So, I think that's a good storyline to look at there. And then the other guy is Aaron Rye. He's played some solid golf, and he seems to adapt well to the golf courses over here after being on the DP World Tour the last couple of years. He is a good player. He's a really good iron player. I don't see him winning this year. I do see him possibly winning at some point in the next couple of years, but this week is a week I could see him, surprising some people, maybe a top 20 finish, having some success here as he has for much of this season.
I think this is the range where you really start to get significant value in the top 5, 10, 20 market. You guys know I love Russell Knox. I will bet Russell Knox this week, fourth tee to green in this field. He has, played really good golf this spring. I think you're getting the bargain at 70-1, so I'll probably win bet him, but also I love the top 10 at plus 600, and I'll just continue to ride Davis Riley. He and Zalatoris finished top 5 last week in the team event. He's at 70. I don't think he's going to beat this field, but I still like him to perform pretty well. I'll be betting him in some capacity. 80-1 and above. We'll just go to the end. So you guys give me a couple names you guys like beyond 80-1. This is where we talk about you might see a plus 1,000 for a top 10, plus 1,500 for a top 10, and there's really a chance when you're talking about the guy that's the 150th best player in this field, probably not that far off from the 30th or 40th best player in the field. Johnny, anyone?
Two names. And first one I wanted to mention, and I've never been overly bullish on him before, is Emiliano Grillo. He's a great iron player. again, I don't know. I don't see him as being a guy to be able to win, but I think he's 10-1 on a top 10. I'd have to look at his form. I don't know much about that, but again, we're on a different golf course. I want good iron players, and why not at plus 15,000 here is to get somebody like that. So I'm going to put him on my card in some capacity. And then the other name I was going to give is Patrick Flavin.
Yes.
Mr. Monday qualifier. This guy is battle tested in the Monday qualifiers. He's gotten through at least 2 and maybe up to 4. And Monday qualifiers are like the hardest freaking things to do well on. I mean, you've got to shoot, you just got to go out there and shoot 63, 64, and maybe you might have a chance to wait till the afternoon to make it. And this guy does it. He got an exemption, a sponsor's exemption into the event, so didn't have to qualify, I believe. So he's, who traditionally has had to peak his game for the Monday qualifier. And there's always seems to be a letdown. You get a couple days of practice and everything like that. Maybe he's good at figuring out a way to peak his game on Monday. Let's just, now that he's in the event here and doesn't have to worry about that, maybe he comes out Thursday just on fire there. And I don't know what he was at. I think plus 20,000. So top 40s even. They've got to pay plus 400 or something like that. I'm gonna take a flyer on him. I like those dudes who grind it out and they have to play with their backs against the wall in these Monday qualifiers. So he's gonna have my back here for this week.
I like that play. That's a really smart pick, and that's a good thought about those guys that have to really just, be on the road all the time and play those qualifiers, and for him to play and get through as many as he has, he's obviously a really good player. So
yeah. And let me say this, the way I kind of think about that. So in junior golf, pre-high school stuff, you played if you got to play in the American Junior Golf Association, the AJGA, that was the thing. And that was what I always tried to get at. Well, what you did is you filled out your golf resume and you emailed it, or you mailed it to the AJGA, because we didn't have internet at that point. They would then look at your application, and then you would either get approved or denied. And if you were denied, then you were sent in a application for the qualifier, which was basically like a Monday qualifier. It was seriously like 96 kids for 3 or 4 spots. So you had to shoot, good score. I qualified for 3 of those. My first 3 events, I was a Monday qualifier for the AJGA. So I had to, you being used to being able to peak your game like that. So those type of guys like that, that's the stuff I kind of look for.
And it's got Patrick Flavin's got Johnny's respects. All right.
Absolutely.
Zach, who do you like?
Just some names that popped out to me, with some top 20, top 40 bets here. A guy like Aaron Baddeley, who in a field like this, I don't remember what tournament it was, but I believe he was somewhere in the top 20 to top 25 in a tournament here within the last month that I saw. Obviously a smaller event. And then a guy who is just an absolute train wreck, but can put together some incredible rounds is Matt Every.
Oh my God.
You can get Matt Every top 40 for plus 400. Mm-hmm. And Matt Every, I've seen him shoot some unbelievably low rounds, and then I've seen him shoot 85. But I think that there's some value. You get Matt Every at plus 1,400 for a top 20. Mm-hmm. And this is not the strongest field, obviously, in the world like we've been talking to. So if Matt Every is trying to come back and he has his mind even slightly in tune, like just slightly, he could top 40 this golf tournament easily. You could also bet him and then just be able to laugh about the fact that he totally falls apart like a train wreck and shoots 85. So you're going to get entertainment either
way. I'm jealous because I had Matt Every's name circled for the exact bets you mentioned. He's plus 4,000 for a top 10. That's That's what I was alluding to earlier, that the field's so bad that this is where you can really find some crazy numbers for a top 10, top 20. And why not Matt Every over, Alex Smalley, who's, his numbers 8 times better. I did have him circled. I had Brandon Hagee. I had him circled at 300 to 1. He's plus 2,800 for a top 10. I mean, Brandon Hagee's played, some hit and miss, pretty good golf the last year and a half. I know he's almost won a couple tournaments. I don't know. Obviously, he hasn't been playing great recently, but here's a name I never thought I'd say, and it's part of kind of going back to last week when we were joking about Bill Haas and Jay Haas. Bill Haas made the cut with his dad at 68 years old, and beat Colin Morikawa and Victor Hovland. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know if they beat him, but they beat a bunch of guys that missed the cut. Bill Haas is 400 to 1 this week. Bill Haas isn't going to win, but Bill Haas could finish in the top 10. He's also at 2,800. More than likely, he doesn't, but even the top 20 number is at plus 900. So I had Bill Haas circled as well. The other guy I want to mention who is less ridiculous is Austin Smotherman. I talked about him last week. He teamed with Higgs. He won the Corn Ferry event here. I'm sorry, it was the Latino tour in 2018 at this golf course. And he's top 15 in the field, strokes gained tee to green. So I like Smotherman in some capacity as well. Yes, 2018 champion at Vidante Vallarta. Can you imagine Emiliano Grillo? He wins his first ever start as a tour member in 2016, and then he never wins again. I mean, that's
his first career win? That was his first career start, I should say.
His first start as a tour member. I don't know what starts he made before that, but he wasn't technically a member. But yeah, the season opener in 2016 and never gets another win. I mean, you come on, you win, you're like, oh, I got this. This is
easy.
It was easy. And and then 6 years later, nothing.
Yeah.
All right, final thoughts. Anybody any other comments on the Mexico Open?
I have no comments on the Mexico Open.
I will not be watching it, so
I'll just say that I'm looking forward to the 5-man and seeing you guys in person for the first time this year instead of just over Skype. So that will be fun, and looking forward to competing against you guys in a golf tournament, which I have not been able to do yet this year either.
Yeah. Johnny and we were trying to figure out the last time he and I played, and we figured it was the practice run for the 2020 city. So it's been a long time since we've even swung golf clubs on the in the same vicinity. So yes, should be fun. That's all I got, guys. We'll put some best bets up on Wednesday for this garbage golf tournament, and we'll look forward to reporting back next week about the 5-man and seeing who won this tournament. So thanks for listening, as always, and we'll catch you next time. Skyline Chili.